Good afternoon, boys and girls. It's another tutorial by Firecracker Designs by Pamela, and I'm Pamela. Today we're going to have a tutorial on masking and creating a scenic card like this one. Ready? Here we go. We're going to start with an oval, and we're going to decide what our first image is going to be. And because our girl is the one that's in the foreground, she's the one that's showing the most, she's going to get stamped first. So we need to decide where on the oval we want to place her. And I actually have all of my images printed on a transparency. And you can do this too using Stays On ink and a transparency. Just stamp them on there. And then you can use this to help you figure out exactly where you want to position your stamp before you stamp it. And that's about where I want her to go. I'm going to peel her off. Stick her on this block. Maybe this block. And ink her up. And I'm going to use Palette Noir Hybrid ink. It's the black one, which I just love. And you can use watercolor pencils on it, and it doesn't run, which I also love. So I've got her about where I want her to be. And I just line her up over the transparency, move the transparency out of the way, and stamp her. Perfect. Clean off my stamp a little bit. Now the next image that we're going to put in here is the mountains. And because we have our girl in place, the next thing we need to do is create the mask so that we can stamp the mountains and not get it on top of her. And so the easiest way to stamp the mask is to use that same stamp. I guess I should have done that before I cleaned it. And just stamp it on a scrap piece of paper and cut it out. There are three things that you can use for masking. You can stamp your stamp on a sticky note, and just use that as its stickiness. Or you can stamp it on a plain piece of paper like I'm doing here and cut it out like this. And then after you've got it all cut out, it's going to look like this. And then what you want to do is take your Zig two-way glue and just run it all over the back of your mask and let it dry. And once that's dry, this is going to be repositional. It takes just a few minutes, but now you can stick it down and peel it back up. And to store these, I use one of these little dollar photo albums from the dollar store, and I just stick them on the outsides instead of inside where the photo goes. Like that, and it's all ready to go. And I just come back here when I'm looking for one. I usually stack them in categories, like these are all my scenic stamps, and then I just peel it off and I'm ready for the next time. Okay, so we have our mask of our girl, and we're just going to lay that right on top of where we stamped her. And remember, you want to make sure this is nice and dry. The next thing we're going to stamp are the mountains. Let's put this over here so you can see it. Do those both show? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to take the mountains from Little Things. And we're going to ink them up. And I'm using black again. And I'm going to stamp the one that's over on this side of her because that's the one I want to show the most. And now I'm going to mask the mountain because I want to stamp one on the other side of her. Great. Now, while I've still got this masked, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the clouds. And the clouds are a stamp from the Just Breathe Again set. Looks like this. And I'm just going to pick up a little bit of this blue ink, and I'm just using Stampabilities. And I'm just going to stamp some clouds, and I'm going to flip it and stamp a few more like that. Okay. Alright, the next thing we want to do is put in our pine trees, and again I'm leaving all this, I'm going to leave her masked, but I'm going to unmask the mountains because I'm done with that. Put in my book. Now this cute little pine tree comes from the Scenic Byways set. And it's a really tiny little tree, but it's perfect for this kind of a background thing. And I'm going to use Adirondack lettuce first. And I'm just going to kind of start here at the bottom and just sort of intersperse them, going off the edge. And same thing with over here. And starting off the edge to make it a little bit more natural. So we're stamping our pine trees, and we're sort of staggering them in height. And we're staggering, we're not re-inking each time in between. Oops, one a little farther if I want to put some water in. Okay, now I've got the lettuce, and now I'm going to use pesto so that I can get some difference in the colors. I'm just going to stamp some dark ones in there. And I'm just stamping them sort of in between and over where I stamped before. Okay, so that is about it. Now I'm going to peel off my mask of my girl, and you can see that I have the basics of this card already. And you can see how easy it is to do some masking. So now that we've got all this part in, we're going to do some coloring.